Our story begins with the heroes fighting against the dragon. The hero called Joser the dragon to warn it, and declared that he would end the attack on the Howard Empire that day. However, Joser dismissed them as insects, proclaiming that they never tire of crawling out. He shouted, declaring that half an empire was too low compensation for his dead child, and vowed to tear them limb from limb, crushing the other half of the empire. This scene unfolds in a webtoon titled Chronicles of a Dragon, specifically in episode 7, which our protagonist was reading. Our protagonist, engrossed in the webtoon, is skinny and in the hospital. Anatrophic lateral sclerosis, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, causes the motor nerve cells to gradually die, leading to muscle paralysis throughout the body and eventually death. Diagnosed with it at the age of 25, it was a death sentence at a young age with no family. The money he had been saving and a young body that still had so much to offer all destroyed by a single disease. 4 years after being diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, at 29 years old, all he had left was a skinny body and this amateur webtoon that he was reading. It was literally all he had left. That's how our protagonist left this world. His only regret is that he won't be able to see the end of this webtoon. This is how he died. However, suddenly a bright light appears in front of our protagonist. When he opens his eyes, he sees an unknown man in front of him. Confused, he starts shouting loudly, asking what is going on. He became a dragon. At first, he thought he was going to faint. He went through reality denial, trying to figure out what was going on. But once he accepted the reality, he realized that he got reincarnated as a dragon. In all novels and webtoons he had read, there was never a weak dragon. He couldn't complain about being reincarnated as the strongest being in the world. Most importantly, in this world, cats have a lifespan of 10 years, humans have 80 years, dwarves have 250 years, elves have 1,000 years, and fairies have 3,000 years. However, the average lifespan of a dragon is 10,000 years. In our protagonist's previous life, he had to work from a young age, then got sick and died in his prime years. But for him, this life is different. Being reincarnated as a dragon with a long and healthy life is the ultimate gift. He is really happy that finally, he can live a long and happy life. However, he realizes that he can't get excited now because he has to overcome many obstacles in his way. Nevertheless, he is really thankful that he's reborn as a dragon. Suddenly, a man grabs him and asks, "My Lois, why are you so excited?" It's Lois's father Joser, who is also a dragon. He asks Lois to come and eat. Although Lois looks really cute, he gets shocked after seeing the food he's going to eat. Joser asks Lois what's wrong, and if he isn't hungry. He insists it's best when it's fresh and encourages Lois to eat. However, Lois doesn't look well, as he'll never get used to this dragon diet. But following dragon laws, he tries a bit and surprisingly finds it tasting like strawberry. Joser asks if he likes it, saying there's more for him to eat. Lois, looking at Joser with expressive eyes, tells him that he doesn't want any more, calling him father. Joser is really surprised and asks Lois what's wrong, urging him to call him dad. However, Lois doesn't listen, still adjusting to being a dragon. He suddenly realizes that he doesn't even know his dad's name yet and asks Joser about it. Joser is shocked, wondering if Lois is just now wondering about that. After a month, Lois finally asks Joser, and he replies that his father's name is Joser. Lois is shocked after hearing this, remembering that Joser was the one who was going to destroy the Howard Empire. Fear starts to creep in. Joser asks Lois what happened to him, and in panic, Lois opens the door and starts running, exclaiming that this can't be true. Running into a library, Lois grabs a book and starts flipping through it, stopping on a page that horrifies him: the Howard Empire. It's the name of an empire in an amateur webtoon he used to read before he died. Lois understands everything. He wasn't reincarnated as a dragon, but was possessed by that webtoon. Joser calls out to him, worried if he's hurt anywhere. Lois can't believe that such a gentle and caring father is going to become a genocider. Suddenly, Lois remembers that Joser went insane after its hatchling was killed by a human. So he asks Joser if he has an older brother. Joser replies that he doesn't have any older brothers. He is the oldest. After hearing this, Lois is really surprised and asks his dad if he has plans to have other kids. Joser says no, explaining that he already promised Lois's mom that they would have only one child and raise it well, realizing that there were none before and there won't be any after him. Lois is confused and doesn't know what to do. In the webtoon, Joser loses his kid and goes insane on the Empire. Lois realizes that he is just a trigger for the story to begin the child of a villainous dragon who will vaporize and disappear before the story even begins. He has become a dragon, one scheduled to die. Moved by the letter, he entered his room, where he found a collection of jewels, gold, and other valuable items. Wondering if, like in his previous life, he is still terminally ill and won't even get to spend all this money, he becomes angry, shouting that he can't die like this. Determined, he goes to his room, grabs a book from his bookshelf, and starts writing, thinking about the year when Joser went berserker mode. Reflecting on Joser losing his child, he tries to figure out the year he went berserk to find out when he is scheduled to die. After remembering the year is 3589 AC, he instantly writes down that since it's now 3D90 AC, he'll be between the ages of 498 and 499 when he dies. He realizes that 1 year before he achieves adulthood, he is scheduled to die as a child. Despite this revelation, he smiles, determined to survive the next 499 years and kick life's ass. Later, Lois goes to the dining hall, surprising Joser by eating a lot. In a good mood after discovering the date of his impending death, Lois asks Joser for another bowl. Joser, happy to see his son in a good mood, gives him a full bowl of blue slime, encouraging him to eat as much as he wants. While Lois is eating peacefully, a worm approaches him and falls into his food. Unaware of the worm, Lois almost eats it, but Joser intervenes in time. Lois, angry at Joser for interfering, questions why he did it. Joser, picking up the insect from the floor, explains that it's an artificial creature his father is researching and is not dangerous for adult dragons like him. However, since Lois is still young, it may be dangerous. Lois gets shocked after hearing this revelation, realizing the potential danger of the poisonous insect. Joser tries to comfort him, assuring him that since he didn't eat it, it must be okay. Lois takes a sigh of relief, thinking he needs to start paying more attention if he doesn't want to die. Later, while reading a book, warrior armor attacks Lois. He shouts loudly, but Joser intervenes, using his dragon power to destroy the armor and save Lois. Joser is confused because he had set it up so that it wouldn't harm Lois. A few days later, there were no more suspicions. Instead, Lois was convinced. He is happy to see the outside world for the first time, and is surprised by the beauty it holds. Joser explains that the mountains Lois sees are the left fang of the earth, one of the two gigantic mountains at the end of the continent, renowned for being home to many mysterious races. Lois is surprised, wondering if it's bigger than Mount Everest, finding it different from what he saw in books. He plays happily with a butterfly, but suddenly the weather turns bad, with black clouds gathering in the sky. In the next moment, lightning strikes Lois, turning him into a dragon kebab. Confused, Lois doesn't know what just happened. Joser, witnessing this, runs toward Lois. However, before reaching him, another lightning strike hits Lois. Everyone prepares their plates as if expecting a dragon barbecue. Lois realizes that the webtoon script wants him to die, especially after 3 continuous lightning strikes. Fainting after the last strike, Joser starts crying and carries Lois to his room. Scared, Lois almost died, but is surprised to see 3 lightning strikes in the same spot. Wondering about the chances of such an event, he figures out that the script wants him dead, despite his supposed death being 498 years away at the hands of humans. Lois suddenly wonders if the script is acting against him because he determined not to die, as the original story only begins when he dies. Curious, He wonders how the Webtoon's baby dragon survived 500 years, finding the situation complicated. He decides he doesn't have time for this and needs something to save him from this death mark. Rushing toward Joser, Lois surprises him and asks if they have any equipment at home that can protect him. Joser replies that they do have such equipment, but insists it's too early for Lois to use them. To utilize them, Lois needs something called attribute power and a lot of training, which he can learn when he's older in a few hundred years. However, Lois decides he wants to learn now and asks Joser to teach him. However, Joser tries to avoid him, saying he is still too young. But Lois doesn't care. He wants to learn. He makes a cute face and asks Joser, "Can't I learn 'cause I'm little?" Joser, still nervous, says usually one learns after passing the stage of infancy. After seeing Lois's cute face, he agrees to teach him. Lois is very happy and wants Joser to teach him right away. But before Joser teaches him, there's a place they need to visit first. Lois is confused and asks Joser where they are going. Joser explains that for the child of the dragon race to discover his own attributes, considering he had this absurd death flag just a few days ago, and now he has to sleep for 100 years, thinking it's literally asking for him to be killed. Lois is very scared and starts running toward his room. After coming back to his room, Lois creates a plan to stay awake as much as possible. He gets a book and starts writing. Firstly, avoid eating because a full belly makes one sleepy. Secondly, skip showers as they tend to relax you. Thirdly, minimize movement as it leads to exhaustion. Lastly, don't go near the bed because just seeing a bed makes you want to lie down. He finishes creating his plan to stay awake as much as possible. A few days later, Lois, after following his plan to stay awake, feels very weak. Joser is also worried about Lois as he's not eating much lately. He asks Lois to eat, emphasizing that he needs nourishment and wants him to eat just one spoonful. Lois does not want to eat anymore, so he runs toward his room, relieved that he nearly ended up eating. Lois takes a sigh of relief, thinking it was a close call. He can't afford to let his guard down until he finds a way to resist sleep. However, he starts falling asleep while reading the book. Suddenly, he pinches himself, saying he cannot fall asleep. He has to stay awake. He tries his best, but can't do that and finally falls asleep. Suddenly, he starts hearing some voices and wakes up suddenly. It's Joser's voice asking Lois if he slept well. Lois says that he didn't sleep. He just dozed off for a bit. However, Joser congratulates him, and Lois is really confused, wondering what's the celebration for. Joser replies that they're celebrating Lois's 100th birthday, and Lois gets really shocked after hearing this.